Good morning. Thank you so much for joining us for the Nonprofit Partnerships Merry Marketing Power Hour with Leslie Smith of McCormick LA Public Relations. We're excited to have you join us today. My name is Christina Krishbaum. I am the Director of Programs and Development for the Nonprofit Partnership, joined here by my colleague, Yvette Solorzano, with our Education Department. We're excited to have you join us today and hope to see you more as we close out the year, but also as we ring in 2024. So I wanted to walk you through just a few housekeeping things while we jump into this session. For those of you that are new to the Nonprofit Partnership, we want to take a moment and introduce you to us. So on the screen, you do see our mission and our vision. Our mission essentially boils down to our mission is to support your mission. Let me put it that way. We believe in the power of nonprofits to impact and transform communities. To strengthen the sector and the communities it serves, TNP engages in learning, collaboration, resource sharing, and advocacy. We appreciate you being a part of our partnership today. On the screen, you also see a variety of ways in which TNP can support you or your organization. We offer a variety of workshops and certificate programs throughout the year. We also offer custom support projects for your organization. So if you're looking at strategic planning or board development, organizational development, please give us a call. Let us know how we can support you and your organizational growth. Couple of things that we hope to see you at. If you like Leslie, and we do love Leslie, you can see her next year, starting just next month. So starting on January 25th, Leslie will be leading TNP's Nonprofit Marketing Certificate Program. 6 consecutive Thursdays, you will be working on developing your marketing plans. So start your year off right with some excellent marketing ideas and plans, and we hope to see you then. We're going to drop a link into the chat so you can register for that program if you're interested. And also at the end of January, for those of you who are interested in learning about laws and what will come affecting nonprofits in 2024, we are offering our HR and legal update provided by Ann Lagusa of the Works Consulting and Usama Koff with Fisher and Phillips. Both of these content experts will be providing updates on what's coming down the pike so that you can better prepare yourself and your organization. So we hope to see you for our January breakfast series that will include networking as well. So please come and network and meet your other nonprofit colleagues and get some great updated information for how to prep for 2024. And last but not least, a thank you from all of us at TNP. On the screen, you see a variety of ways that you can connect with us. If you ever have any questions or need for resources, or if you want to provide us some feedback, we would love to hear from you. In fact, we're going to pop something into our chat right now asking for your feedback on our survey. I'm going to stop share there so I can share more about that. TNP has an annual survey out right now asking all of you about what your needs are. As a nonprofit, as individuals running nonprofits, we want to know how we can better support you. So please take a moment and complete our survey today. It directly drives our programming for 2024. So we look forward to hearing from you and having your voice be acknowledged and heard. With that, I want to lead us into our session today. So I'm excited to bring up to the virtual stage Leslie Smith, who is the founder of McCormick LA Public Relations. And Leslie, I want to give you an advanced congratulations on your upcoming 30th anniversary in founding your organization. Very, very excited for that. TNP celebrated our 30th year this year, and it was very exciting for us to be able to say we turned 30. So excited to honor you and your wealth of experience and knowledge in this space. And thank you so much for sharing it with us these many years. We're excited to continue working with you. So excited to hear what you have in store for us today with your Merry Marketing Power Hour. These are tips for how best to boost outcomes for everything you promote. So Leslie, we're excited to hear from you. This stage is yours.
Great. Thank you very much. And welcome everybody. So as Christina mentioned, next year will be my 30th year. I'm very excited about that. And I think I've always specialized in nonprofits and small businesses because you share similar predicaments, which is low budget, low to no budget, and you're mostly doing it yourselves. And so I take a very no nonsense practical approach to everything. I've been teaching classes with the Long Beach Nonprofit Partnership, originally a Long Beach Nonprofit Partnership, and then they expanded to all over Southern California since 2009. And to earmark what things were like then, my first class was, are you ready for an e-newsletter? I was talking to somebody last night about a job I had in the 90s, and I'm like, we didn't have email. And he's like, what? Like, we didn't have websites. Like, you printed things and you mailed things. He's like, oh, very foreign. So we will talk about a lot of those things because those tried and true media tricks still work. So we will get started. If you want to put some questions in the chat, that's fine. But I'd like to keep questions to the end so we get through everything at the beginning and then have time at the end to do that. And I'll stay on after the hour. I don't know if that's okay with TNP, but I'm happy to stay on after the hour. And I hope that I see some or many or all of you in January for the 6-week class. Because it's my favorite thing to teach. Okay, so this is our simple agenda. First, I'm going to go through just some simple truths of marketing with you. And these are, these things, and you may just need to be reminded of them and how they relate to marketing. A reminder that tools don't work for you, they work by you. So we'll go through that a little bit and what I mean, and then we'll get to what I call the triple threat to supercharge your results. Okay. So these first simple truths, and I say of marketing, but they work across the board. The first truth, people work with people. And this is true. And you especially know this is true as a nonprofit when you're doing fund development. That is hammered into you. People work with people. That is why those peer-to-peer fundraisers like Long Beach Gives work, because people give to people. I'm going to give to my Aunt Sally regardless of what she's doing. If she's doing the leukemia, lymphoma marathon, if she's doing a golf tournament for a brain tumor society, whatever. I get emails from so many nonprofits. It's crazy because I give to people. So remember that when you remember these simple truths, it helps you create a logic for your promotions that makes a lot of sense. Okay. You don't want to forget this. People work with people. Second truth, and this is across the board, small businesses, big businesses, nonprofits, everyone, regardless if you call them clients, customers, patients, whatever you want to call them. The second truth is you gain clients in 2 ways, repeat and referral. That's just it. And I understand the conundrum of this. They're like, but we have to start. So if you are a brand new, you're like, how am I getting a referral? How am I getting a repeat? I don't have them yet. And there are many tactics for you that's easy enough to start. You've started your nonprofit, perhaps you're a founder or you're working for a newer organization. You started it with an assumption in mind. People need this service. People's kids need this service. I've found in my own experience that there was a lack of this service and it needs to be a nonprofit. Okay, so you already have that supposition that the need is out there. And then you need to connect with obvious partners. And the first obvious partner is the nonprofit partnership. So you've made a step in the right direction just by calling them or joining them and then partaking in those things. So, and then finding out who are my logical collaborators, who are my logical referral sources. Let's invite them. You have a ribbon cutting, you have an anniversary event. If you're later, because all of these things, you can do these, even if you're not brand new, your marketing may be dormant. You've relied on certain referral sources that have now dried up. They don't exist anymore, and you need to find a new way. Well, wake everybody up again. This is who we are. Check what your vision and mission is. Make sure they're still viable and relevant, and then have another party. Have whatever it is. It can be, any anniversary that ends with a 5 or a 0 is fantastic, but you can make it, if it's your 31st, make it your 30 wonderful anniversary. You can play with that and create reasons for people to come and see you. You can also just go to the nonprofit partnership and attend something like this, get to know other people, figure out who are logical referral sources. And then you ask them to come back. You ask them to repeat. You ask them to bring a friend. It becomes very logical what your calls to action are when you keep this in mind. Repeat and referral. Lather, rinse, repeat, right? It's fundamental. The third simple truth, when you build relationships, people who align with your mission will come to you. Mission first. Don't worry about chasing money. Don't worry about chasing an influencer. You build relationships with people and they understand who you are, how you work, how to refer to you, what your processes are, and you find that out by working with people and creating relationships. So keep this in mind. It's all relationships. Whether you are selling shoes in the mall, I want to buy from that guy, he's always so nice, he always picks out other shoes for me, or you are selling a rehab program that's 12 steps in 12 months. You have to be building those relationships with those people that matter to you, either one-on-one directly with your clients or with those referral sources. And you use your tactics to help build those relationships. Think of it as a friendship. That's your PR mode, right? So when you're sending somebody a thank you note, you're picking up the phone, not asking for something, just saying, hi, I was just thinking of you. Last time we talked, you said your daughter was going through some stuff. I just hope everything's okay. Take care. Hope to see you at the next event. Right? You're creating that relationship that you care, then they care about you. And when people like you, they want to work with you, and they'll be honest with you. So they'll say, I want to refer you, but this barrier keeps coming up. When I talk about you, maybe cost is a barrier for the low-income people that I work with. Do you have scholarships? Those kinds of things. They'll be honest with you and a sounding board, and they want to help you succeed. And they will give you that honest feedback that will help you construct new ways to bridge to your customers. Okay. So simple. People work with people. You gain clients through repeat and referral. And when you build relationships, people who align with your mission will come to you. Okay. So keep those things in mind as you create your marketing plan, which you can do in 6 weeks starting in January. With me. Okay. Your marketing tools do not work for you. They work by you. Marketing is not one and done. You will be surprised how many times I've seen either on platforms like Alignable or even like newbies on LinkedIn or just people come up to me at Chamber of Commerce or something, and they'll say, hey, we built a website, but it's not working for us. Well, how are you getting the information out that you have a website and people should go to the website? Oh, I hadn't thought about that. We created a beautiful brochure, but it's not working for us. I joined the nonprofit partnership, but it's not working for me. Okay, those things don't work for you. They work by you. This is the same idea. Think of it this way. If you went to Home Depot and you said, I'm going to start building things, I want beautiful tools. And you bought a beautiful toolkit, and you bought a hammer, you bought a couple different screwdrivers, you bought a wrench, you bought some pliers, and you put them in your toolkit, and then you put them in your garage, and you left. Would it build a house for you? No, it's not going to do anything until you work it. Okay. So you cannot just create a website and then expect it just to magically work for you, unless it is set on autopilot to be sending out emails and generating money for you and generating donations, but you probably aren't at that level. And so that it's not a one and done. You have to be monitoring, you have to keep at it, and you are the power behind those tools. So you have to make sure that you are working them. Okay. So this is what I call my triple threat. Okay. And some people will say, well, that's old media. Well, no, it's tried and true. You have to layer your promotions. Okay. They do not just happen. It's not just one and done. You can't just create a website and think that's done. You can't just create a Facebook page and go, it's there. People should like us now. They have to have ways to find you, and you have to create those things. Okay. So your triple threat is using the combination of these 3 kinds of tactics. Okay. So obviously you want to promote digitally because we live in the day and age that we live in. You have to have some sort of presence on the internet. So obviously you need to have your website and make sure that you understand that it can be an economic engine. Do you have a donate button that is readily available on every page? Do you have places for people to subscribe to your e-newsletter? Do you have, all of these different simple calls to action? Tell a friend about us if you can't use us, right? Share the word, share this, tag, do all of those things. all of you on some sort of digital medium? Yes. Yes. Okay, good. So you want to make sure, and I am not somebody who recommends posting 20 times a day. I that's a full-time job and probably doesn't make any difference for you, right? So you need to find a rhythm that works for you, that if you can do daily, that's fantastic. But if not, that's okay. If you can do a couple times a week, that's great. And you'd be amazed how much people think a few times equals in their world. Like my friend, I post 2 or 3 times a week on Instagram. I'm not there all the time, but I do a video once a week. So people know to expect on Tuesdays that I do a talk about Tuesday tip. So they've come to expect that. But everybody's not, all of my, followers are not on Instagram every single day. So it comes up in their feed when they get there. So my one friend goes, well, you're on Instagram all the time. Like I post 2 or 3 times a week. I'm not there all the time. I may go through and do some engagement and like people, and that's important, but it inflates in their world. They think that you're there much more than you are. So don't put the pressure on that you need to check things every hour or anything like that, except on Long Beach Gibbs. And you're working it crazy. Okay. You want to make sure you have easy calls to action, but you need to have a call to action. Okay. So if you're just putting up a quote, which is popular, especially when social media started, people would put up quote, and I do a quote on Thursdays. What's the call to action in that? Tag a friend, go do this. Is it inspirational? How can point out how people can apply this to their lives and how it relates to your mission. Okay. So if it doesn't relate to your mission, it's not a quote for you. Okay. Even if it's just your favorite quote. Ask them to sign up for the e-news, to tag somebody. You want that engagement as much as you can, and you want to use some video to warm up your posts, okay? Because people work with people. So if they see your executive director giving a little PSA, they see you saying, hey, we're here today at this great event. So glad to be here. Took a class this morning at Nonprofit Partnership. So fun. And then you ask people to follow, donate, tag, refer a friend, etc. There are, none of you, maybe a side hustle, you're selling earrings on Etsy. That could be something that's a completely digital world, but most nonprofits, when you're working with people, are not completely digital. So you have to have some other things. Okay. So the next part of the triple threat that people forget, and it doesn't want to click now. There we go, is print. Okay. And people go, oh, that's old media. No, it's not old. It's traditional. People still print. And oddly, millennials are super sentimental. When doing a poll of what kind of books do you read, millennials still read hard books. They don't read Kindle. They like the printed feel. They are sentimental that way. If you give them a beautifully designed rat card that's clever and fun and informative, 4 tips for whatever, they will keep it. So even though we think of print is for older people, 65 plus, news, definitely a hard newspaper, but all of the newspaper is also digital. So newspapers have finally caught up to that. And so, which gives you something to put on your social media as well. Okay, so I put on here owned and earned media. So to explain that to you, so owned media is anything that you've produced. So if you printed a brochure, collateral, what your letterhead looks like matters to some people. And letterhead isn't, what we reprint every year with every board of director on it, et cetera. It's probably a digital thing that you then print out, just a little template. But any of those things that you own, that's an important attribute if you have something to leave behind. And some people are like, no, I don't believe you. Okay, let me give you 2 relevant examples. I used to do a lot of work for a social media company, and I would come in and do a marketing plan and a calendar, digital marketing plan, digital calendar for their clients. And we come up with, these are your objectives here. And the strategy was primarily digital, but I would also say issue a press release, blah, blah, blah. When we would do the presentations with the client, I was amazed when we first started, none of the client meeting was digital. I'm like, I would think a social media company would bring up a big screen. They would do this, this, and this. This is what your analytics are going to look like, blah, 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 blah. No, they had a folio with paper. And I said, this is so weird to me. I would think you'd be doing all this. And they said, we did that. And people felt like the meeting wasn't complete because they didn't have something to leave with. They wanted it in print. It felt real. This is what the contract is. This is what the proposal is. This is who I'm working with. There's a bios of the people. There's a brochure, all of these things. So even if you gave them the flashy presentation, they still wanted something tangible to leave with. Recently, I just did a press release for a company that was opening up in Lakewood Mall. And Lakewood Mall is not super sexy, right? It's kind of hard to get some traction, and they don't have a lot of media in Lakewood, and Long Beach media likes to focus on Long Beach. But I did get one story in Long Beach Post, and which helped, right? Because the press release gives you, once the news picks up your press release, then you have some third-party vetting. So an authority like a newspaper has now said, yes, they're legitimate. These are the people who are opening this. They're going to do X, Y, and Z, and you should go to the grand opening. Okay, so they had a little line outside when they opened on this Saturday. And so I went through the line and just said, oh, thanks for coming. How's it going? How'd you hear about us? Okay, number one way that people heard was from the flyers they put in other businesses around Lakewood Mall, not in the mall. They weren't allowed to do it in the mall, other businesses. So Starbucks, places. And they found that flyer and they could make it. So it was this instantaneous thing. So, and I used to call flyers when I started my business, everything was flyers because we didn't have email. That was everything. And I had tons and tons of clip art and all sorts of stuff. Clip art meaning you actually cut it out of a book and you glued it on your paper and you made photocopies. And I called it the cheerleader mentality because that's how we communicated on high school campuses, right? And it's still today, almost 30 years later, still a viable way to communicate what's happening. Okay, so that earned media is when the newspaper picks up your press release and writes your story. And be very clear, if you don't know what a press release is, we go through that in the 6-week class. And sometimes from time to time, we'll do a press release class. The press release, once you've announced something, the news media can do whatever they want with that information. So they can go on your website and find some other information on the website. It doesn't show up like an ad. They don't use it verbatim. So they can interview people. They can do whatever they want with it. You've made it public. Okay, so it won't necessarily always come back as is. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it'll show up as is because they don't have a huge staff. Newspapers don't anymore. So if they're like, okay, we'll just plop this in. We have space. Space matters for press releases. But then once you have that news story, you want to post that on your website. You want to post that in your social media, link it to the social media. And you need to make sure that your board members are being good brand ambassadors and are liking all your social media. And they're the first people to share things and really help you amplify your reach out into the community, because that's how you'll get more people. Okay. And if one of the reporters put some great quote in there, you can use that on your brochures. According to the, Press Telegram, XYZ nonprofit is blah, blah, blah. Okay. And so you can really leverage the placement of a story in that earned media. Okay. And it doesn't just have to be a press release. You can also, if you're in an industry where legislation surrounds you and matters, you might write an op-ed. So you write a letter or even a letter to the editor from your board president. That would be great. And then it goes, again, you're showing up in the newspaper, and more people read the newspaper than you think. I think people mostly, and we still get a hard copy press telegram every single day. But I also get emails from the LA Times, Washington Post, Orange County Register, Daily Breeze, and the Daily News, just so I read the headlines. And Southern California News Group mostly is sharing a lot of data, and also Long Beach Post, sign up for their newsletters. So you want to be mindful of what's out there, even if you're just skimming headlines, because sometimes there's something you're like, oh no, that can't happen. My mission is to protect my people from this legislation happening. So you use your voice in a different part of the newspaper. And every newspaper, if you go online and say how to submit an op-ed, and it's opposite editorial, it doesn't mean it disagrees with the editorial page. It's actually the placement. So there's an editorial page that's written by the publisher editors of the newspaper, and opposite that will be other written material. Okay. So that's all that it means. The editorial staff may 100% agree with you. And then you would write a story. I'm in complete agreement with the Press Telegram's publisher when they said blah, 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 blah. This is why it's important. Our organization's been working to fight this particular clause, whatever. Okay. So there's lots of different ways you can use your print media. Also, the society page. Good old Shirley Wild still publishes her Scene at the Scene. So if you have your gala, you take a few pictures of the gala, you name the people who are in there, you send it off to her, and it'll run in that part of the paper. Also, new hires. When you have new hires, send that to the Business Journal, send it to the Press Telegram, send it to the Gazette. They do the Moving On Up, I think is what it's called in the Grunion Gazette. And if you're outside of Long Beach, I'm sure you can research your local papers. They're looking for those kinds of things. Okay. And then the third way is in person. Because why? People work with people. So, and I have 3 different scenarios here for you. The one-on-one lunch. Right? It does. If you are like petrified that I just said you need to do some public speaking, you're like, oh no, that is still the biggest fear across America, across the world, probably. You can get over that, and it takes practice. And you can start with articulating what your mission is with a possible donor or referral source over lunch. Start with that one-on-one, because they'll ask you questions. Listen carefully. They're asking you questions that you need to cover in your brochures, in your presentations, in your press releases. Okay. There are things that aren't clear, and you will only know that from going out in the public. Tabling events are wonderful for this. And that's a great place for you to get your feet wet. The Chamber of Commerce had their expo last night. There were several nonprofits there, and Matt was there. We had a good long talk. So you get to meet people, and it's not necessarily just your constituents. You also need board members, you need funders, you need referral sources. So those things can come from a lot of different places. So you have multiple audiences as a nonprofit. It's not just, like a product, people who eat cereal. Well, no, you have all of these layers of different kinds of people that you need to bring in to your organization. So when you go to some of those public facing things, you have opportunities to meet lots of different peoples, and you'd be surprised at what people propose when they're just talking to you at a casual tabling event. And they're fun. And you get to talk about your organization and clear up those misconceptions. I'm a member of the Junior League of Long Beach, and many years ago, we had a staff person for budgetary reasons, we had to let her go. This was like in 2003. So the board took over and did office hours. And it was so funny to learn from that perspective, because it's called Junior League, and it's an organization for women. We teach women to be better volunteers out in the community and thereby improve the community through their leadership skills. You go on and serve on other boards, etc. Because it's the word league. Are you a little league? Are you a bowling league? These are the phone calls that came in. And then we had a huge fundraiser back in the day, was a rummage sale at the convention center. Can I drop off my rummage? No, we don't do that anymore. You don't? We haven't done it in 5 years. Oh. So it clarified, how are we seen in the community? Either people don't know us at all, or they've tied us to a fundraiser that we don't even do anymore. So you figure out those kinds of things that you don't know until you're talking to the public. And that was just from sitting in the office answering phone calls. So pay attention to those wrong emails, those wrong phone calls. What are the misconceptions and why? Okay. Then public speaking, if you can do a lunch speech at Rotary, chamber lunch, Seroptimus, and be strategic. Know what audience you need to reach out to, why you're going, and then make sure that your speech is formulated for them. Many of those organizations need 20-minute speakers. Okay. So, and they'll let you use like a short deck. So if you are ready, reach out to them, create a speakers bureau. Maybe it's not you. Maybe it's your board chair is like phenomenal speaker and really figures out how to hit them, to make them, to compel them to act really quickly. Then that's who you want to go out there and speak. Okay. So, and you can start small. Like maybe you don't go to the Long Beach Rotary that's 150 people every week, but start at the Lakewood Rotary that's 30 people every week. Just to check your messaging, check how well your tech works, do all of those things, get your feet wet and build from there. Okay. But that in person is so great because you're hitting more than one person at a time. You're asking, their call to action be follow us on Instagram. We have some great things coming up and we need your help. Or, sign up to volunteer, passing around the sign up sheet. Or can you give your change today? I'm passing the hat. Like all of those things make a difference. Okay. But you want to, don't leave without a call to action. Doesn't have to be dramatic. You're not asking them each for $1,000, not asking them to pledge 10 years on your board. You're asking them to take a chance with you, get involved, follow you, support you, lend their expertise to you. Okay. And then this last little picture is supposed to be like a network meeting. So go to those networking meetings that you can. Many of them are parties. So it's very fun. They're very social. But when you go to those things, think about meeting 2 or 3 people. People sometimes go, there's going to be 50 people there. If you leave with 50 business cards and think they're all going to be, contacts that you're going to cultivate, you're going to drive yourself crazy and that becomes your whole job. Okay. So can I make big connections with 2 or 3 people? Like all those 50 people, you can maybe, connect with them on LinkedIn or follow their Instagram and they follow you, ask them to follow you back if they all align, right? Some are just, you liked your shoes and start a conversation, right? So they may not be viable long-term contacts unless, but you can cultivate that relationship and find out. Maybe that person that you are wearing the same outfit, their sister is exactly who you've been trying to reach. You don't know, right? But you want to build those relationships and networking is a great way to start. Okay, how many of you go to networking meetings and that kind of stuff here and there? Some. Yes. Cheryl, I've seen you at Chamber or your executive director. Very good. Okay. Then finally, so those are the 3 things, right? You want to do something digitally, you want to do something in print, and you want to do something in person. Okay. Then you want to make sure that you are evaluating. This is the part that people go, yeah, we had this great, really fun, Black Friday thing that parlayed great into our Giving Tuesday. And did it work? I don't know. We had so much fun doing it. And look at the graphic. It was so great. Okay. How many people bought? How many people you contributed? How many people referred a friend? How many did it work? Did it really work? And can it be improved? Are you sure it was working if you didn't have some computer glitch, right? Figure out if there was something in it that can just be improved and it would be better. And I have a mentor friend of mine. She always says, what you're doing this year is for next year. Okay. What you're doing this year is for next year because you're every time you are making an assumption, okay, this is going to work. It's a hypothesis. I think if I offer 5 days of Mary marketing, then more people will subscribe to my e-newsletter. And then next year, I'll have more people and I can do some other things that are a little bit more expensive, or I can add some other thing, right? So that's my hypothesis. So then you have to figure out if it actually worked, what can be improved, what can stop. I just took down my Twitter business account. I hardly ever updated it. So I don't want somebody to go to that and going, She hasn't updated in 3 years. Then they don't go to my Instagram that I update at least 3 times a week, right? So you can stop those things. And sometimes we feel peer pressure that we have to do all of these things. There are social media companies out there that say you should be on 20 platforms. That's insane. Your target audience probably isn't on 20 platforms. And when you start thinking about 20 platforms, they get down to such a granular level that, 5 of those are, particular sports interest platforms that don't pertain to you, right? So be very mindful and be strategic. And if it's not working, cut it. There's no reason for it to take up your energy. And then what are your holes? What needs to be created? We have the successful girls program, but 5 of our referrals are like chomping at the bit for us to get a successful boys program going. Maybe we should start that. Maybe we have to brand it as something else because our whole branding is for girls, by girls, of girls. So now maybe we need to do something else for boys. And maybe it's a whole different 501c3 with a parent company or whatever. We need to reevaluate that. But you need to be looking at those things on a constant basis. Okay. And we forget. And it's not fun, right? Evaluation isn't always fun. There are certain lovely people who love to evaluate and get into the nitty gritty, but it takes time. I'd rather go create a new flyer. Okay. So that's all I had. And so I'd love to open it up for questions. I see that there's a couple things. Okay. So in the chat, okay, when will you release the corporate giving workshops? In January? I think that's for you, Christina, probably.
We got that one up. Maybe if you have questions for Leslie about some of these tips or tricks, we would love to hear those. And actually, I'm going to stop I don't know if you want to kind of leave it up on the slide or if we want to bring up the crowd as well. We can do that as well. Because I know I have you spotlit there. So let me take off that spotlight so that we can see the rest of everybody with us today as well. So move the spotlight there and open it up for questions or for discussion. How, if you want to share out some things that you've done or seek some advice on something, this is kind of the space that we have for it. If anybody wants to share anything now.
So I know I talked a lot. So while you were going through that, and it's going to take a few days for you to process this and whatever, but if you have something either that supports what I'm saying or is contrary to what I'm saying, please share. Or was it just validating? You're like, woohoo, we're doing it all right.
I was just going to say, I was watching kind of the crowd and also myself as we were talking, and there was just a lot of like reminding myself, that's right. I need to be doing those steps. I need to be doing those steps. So it was a great reminder for some of our marketing steps that we're taking that we just maybe have done like step 2, but not step 3 on those things. So I appreciated just a reminder of some of those things and just really remembering that we're dealing with people always. And it's
right.
Working with people is kind of like that great kind of opening statement really helped out in that space. So I do appreciate just the walking through the ideas and validating. Again, I know it's kind of something that that we struggled with in our marketing ideas this year, was whether or not to go with print. And that was a round and round discussion, but it really ended up kind of helping some things. Matt, you got your hand raised there. What we got?
Yeah, how do you recommend tackling like thank you posts and things like that? I think for us, especially with Long Beach Gives, they're the posts that always perform the worst out of every post that we do. Okay. They are important and we understand that they need to happen and we're happy to do them. But do you have tips on either ways to make them a little bit more appealing to the, general, to our audience, or is there a better is there a best practice as far as timing? We like to do it during the campaign because we feel like that's when more people are going to see it. Mm-hmm. But is it detrimental to us to do it during our campaign since they do underperform all of our posts that are talking about the nonprofits? Like, do you have thoughts on that piece?
Do you name people you're thinking, or is it a general? Thank you.
Yeah, so it's
like
we'll do
F&M and
yeah, so we'll do an individual, it's an individual post, and we'll make sure that we're tagging the business, if they have, some of the local foundations don't have social media, but if they
right.
are on social media, we make sure that we tag them, and things like that. And I'll let the sponsor know if there's somebody that I'm specifically working with. I'll say like, hey, check out Instagram. Like,
right. Right. Yeah. So that, I think you zoned in onto something. So people like to read about themselves, right? So if you're talking about a nonprofit and I'm on the board of that nonprofit, I'm going, yeah, thank you, Matt. That's great. And, share or tag or whatever. And so if you're thanking foundations and they're not on social media, so unless the nonprofits that are benefiting from that are also tagged to go, oh, they're talking about us and we're beneficiaries of that foundation, like share, whatever. So that it's the eyeballs that are seeing it because they might not be on social media. So in that case in particular, you'd want to write the print thank you note or create, buy a print ad naming those people, right? So you'd want to, the digital is not enough for that, for whatever reason, right? So you want to write those, thank you notes, which I'm sure you do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then in person, the next time you see them, oh, thank you again. I can't thank you enough, right? Nobody gets sad or irritated that you thanked them again. They're like, oh my gosh, that's so nice. He remembered, right? It didn't go unnoticed. So that's, you cover your bases when you do those three things, right? And that is interesting that those are your lowest performing things.
And is it okay to have those continue being part of what we're doing, like part of the actual week of giving? Like, is it? We want them to feel like they're getting the most recognition that they can, and our social media is relatively quiet outside of.
Sure, and because you're giving out, thank you. You probably don't have a call to action. So there probably isn't something that says, like if you've applied to a grant from them or something like that. And some people may want some nonprofits are very proprietary about who they get grants from because they don't want their not competitors, but other people in their same space to take that money from them. So there might be a level of that too. I'm not going to tell them that I get that much money from Weingarten. Right. So that could be an underlying thing where people don't want to publicly do that. And I remember, the port, if you get port money, you have to put the port everywhere. Arts Council, but you got to put the Arts Council everywhere. Right. So it'd be interesting when you thank those two who we know want a lot of recognition and you have to tag them. And there's all sorts of stipulations for getting their money and how you talk about them on social media, blah, 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 versus somebody who's quiet and doesn't necessarily want the name recognition because, sometimes like what was that Bess Hodges Foundation, they give like $10,000 a year or something. And so it's only, they give to a few organizations a little bit of money. I don't think they want everyone talking about them. So I'll talk about them. The Bess Hodges. They don't ask for a lot of recognition, right? They don't.
It kind of harkens to one of the points you also built into this, which was how you build relationships with those that are supporting you. And those that align with your mission will naturally come back and start to come back to you and work with you a little bit more, but you also understand, or you start to build an understanding with your funders and your donors, how they want to be recognized.
Yes.
And you can use your marketing in that way if they want it that way. And the port is a great example of one where they love to see their name out there so that others can see how they are supporting all the works that you do.
Exactly right.
So that's written into the agreement. But when you build a relationship with them, you also get a better sense of how they see that, because a lot of the port people don't have access to their social media platforms through their port. So you have to find a different way that's also showing that you are recognizing them in that space. I like the comment in there. Thank you, Natalie. Appreciate that.
Nice.
Perhaps something like a thanking Thursday once a week to recognize someone or an organization, a ping of gratitude beyond the immediate Giving Tuesday cycle. And I love that.
That's very
Making
nice.
it a regular thing that people can also call upon, and naming it something gives it that. We all, love to see that like throwback Throwback Thursday, Flashback Friday kind of things. And I love the idea that it's like Thanking Thursday is a great way of pinning that. And hopefully that's not copywritten because now everybody can grab it. All right. So lovely resource there from Natalie Wilson. We appreciate you so much. We really, really do. But this is kind of that space for sharing out just an idea like that. So I do love that.
Very cool.
Well, Leslie, I want to thank you so much. I know that we're coming close to our time where we need to close this out. I want to give one more chance for anybody want to ask any questions or share out anything. Otherwise, we will look to wrap this up, and we are going to package this recording for you. So it will be available for the next 2 weeks for you and any members on your team to review and replay, and hopefully see if there's some space in there for you to tweak your current marketing. We have a couple weeks left in this year. So it's a great, perfect time to really get those last minute boosts to your marketing out there. And if you are interested in developing a full marketing plan, if you're interested in reinvigorating your marketing plan, we strongly encourage you to come see us for the marketing certificate program starting January 25th. It is a great way to methodically plod through all of the pieces. Instead of, as I said, it's not a one and done kind of thing. It's not something that you can just slap a plan together. We help you think through it, plan it out so that you're really doing something that's effective in that space. So I really do appreciate it. And thank you, Leslie, for popping in your tag.
Oh, yes.
Hey, if you all didn't know to pop in your tag, that's your social media tag. That's where you can find her on those platforms. And if you aren't dropping those when you're in these types of situations, then you're missing out on an opportunity to market yourself as well. So thanks for that great example of how to do it. We appreciate that too. All right. I don't see any more questions in there, so I want to give Leslie one last chance. Oh, Matt, you got one more?
Yeah, I was just kind of going back to the pardon me, to the print side of things, and then some of the marketing channels that we tried with Long Beach Gives that were new this year. So the print has been really effective for us. It's been the most effective, I think, single thing that we've done. The number of times, especially in September when we're out at community events, the number of people that come up to us and say, "Oh, I read about you guys. I saw you in the Gazettes, or I saw you in the Press Telegram." And it's generally like fairly affordable. I know most publications, I think all of the publications in Long Beach have nonprofit advertising prices, which is nice. But the other thing that was new for us this year was TV commercials. We were able to do some of the digital, like through Hulu and I think Roku, and that was surprisingly affordable. Like we needed to have, we were fortunate that we had paid a little bit of money to get professionally developed like video content. But once we had that content, which we had for other stuff, we weren't intending to just have that for a commercial, but once we had the content, it was really affordable for us to do that. And again, the number of people that were like, "Oh my gosh, I saw your commercial, I saw you on Hulu," and just that recognition out in the community was really huge for us. And it was not, I think it was like 2 or maybe 3,000 for what we did for the year, which granted we only really market for about a month, like 4 to 6 weeks, but we were happy with it, and it was a relatively affordable thing from what I was expecting. So
that's great. That you remind me, there's something, I don't know what streaming service we're on, but there's this ad, it's for Tia and it's women's health. And I'm like, I think that's a Canva slide pack. It's hot pink. The words just come on. There's like a little doodad, it's a little jiffy, and it's a voiceover. And I'm like, that is so easy to produce. And if you don't have Canva, buy
oh, please service. Don't tell me everybody has Canva. Okay, so we're gonna put that into the
you can
chat.
do everything on Canva. It's so much easier. Adobe should be very worried. Yes. It's so easy, and they keep getting better. So you can actually do a video. You do slides, and then your picture is in there talking about what's on the slides. You can do so many things, and you could surely create a commercial. I'm like, I'm pretty sure. It's just
so much you can do on Canva. And yes, the Pro is free as long as you apply for that nonprofit. We do have a raised hand. Laura,
I was just going to mention that it was free for nonprofits.
That's great.
Which was the previous nonprofit I was working for was actually paying for it. And I said, no, don't
I didn't
pay
know
for
it
the
was free
pro
for
version.
nonprofit. That's
Yeah.
great.
And it's
Yeah.
very simple. It's hassle free. You just have to upload your just like one document. I forgot which one it was, but it's just, and he gets approved within like less than a week. So
Yeah.
just a
Wow.
little hot
That's
tip.
great.
I have had many trainers create their entire presentation on Canva now and present from Canva.
Yeah.
So PowerPoint, they're like, no, I'm in Canva now. And there's a lot that it can do. So strongly encourage, if you're not in Canva, to pop that in. I want to thank you so much. And thank you for the great questions. Thank you for the great resources that we've all shared today. A couple of housekeeping things, just because there's some great information that was shared in the chat today, both links, but also some, all y'all started sharing your social media links. And I want to encourage all of you to please follow each other. This is a great space to support each other. Thank you, Matt. Pop that in as well. Get it all in. If anybody else wants to drop in your social media links, I highly encourage, if you would like to save the chat, you can do that if you go into that chat box. There are 3 dots in the chat box, and when you click that, you can be prompted to save the chat. So all of the links and all of the incredible introduction and information we got in the chat today, you can save always. In addition to that, the slides for today's session were dropped into the chat as well. I don't know if everybody saw that. You can download it directly from there. We will send it to you via email as well. So if you didn't get a chance to download it today, don't worry about that. It will come with the replay link as well. And so, and Canva connects to Constant Contact, right on. Thank you, Mercedes, for sharing that as well. They really are building in like a one-stop shop for so much. Haven't tried the magic function yet. It is amazing. Oh my goodness. Makes everything move, and it makes it look like we knew what we were doing when we created what used to be a simple flyer. And I love the fact that, Leslie, flyers are still so much a way that we continue to operate. And what I love on Canva, you can create the printed version, add a little magic, and you have a digital version that will move and attract people, because we are all attracted to movement now. So take advantage of all those resources and the great tips shared today. I want to thank you, Leslie, once again for sharing out this information with us. We look forward to seeing you later today. I know many of you here on the screen too. I know that many of you are going to be joining us for TNP's Winter Mixer later this evening at Compound Long Beach, a wonderful local nonprofit as well. So we look forward to seeing you if you're going to be there, or anywhere else that TNP is going to be holding all of these great events. And we have a few more for this year, and looking into 2024, a lot being planned. So we look forward to seeing you all then as well. Leslie, any other final closing thoughts that you have for us?
I'll just say you all can do this. It's not rocket science. Don't overthink it. You may even realize you're doing too much.
Well, that one too. Don't overthink it, right? Do not overthink it. Absolutely. Please reach out to us if you have any questions or need any support. We look forward to working with you in the future. And from everybody at TNP, we appreciate all of you. Have a great rest of the day, everybody.